Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So hi guys, if you're new here, my name is Brianna and I am a former Disney World cast member. Yeah. So I went down for the Disney College Program Spring 2019 program, and I was there from January to May working as a cast member at Bippity Boppity Boutique, and it was so much fun. If you're interested in any of my past videos, definitely check them out. They were a lot of fun to make while I was down there. But today we're going to be talking about my overall experience on the DCP. We're going to talk about stuff like my experience working, dating and relationship stuff, roommate drama, and the hard part of the DCP, like depression, anxiety, that kind of thing, because I know it affected me and a lot of other people on our programs, and people generally don't talk about it while they're there, but once we're home we kind of start thinking about how the DCP really affected us. And I want this video to be a really honest perspective of the program in general, because I know a lot of people are going to want to know more about it. Spring applications drop in just 3 days, so if you're thinking about it, apply, do it. It'll change your life. It'll be great. But yeah, spring applications are coming out. I know that people in fall are just now going through traditions and everything like that, so if you want to know more about being a cast member, just keep on watching. I'm gonna leave timestamps in the description down below in case you guys want to skip around and just go to certain subjects. I won't be offended at all, because as you can see from the title, there's going to be a lot to unpack here. So I hope this video helps some of you guys. If you are alumni and you've done the program before and you agree with anything I'm saying, leave some advice down in the comments below too. Or if you're new and you have more questions after you watch this video, let me know, message me on Instagram, and I'll try to answer them the best that I can. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so what is it really like working at Walt Disney World? Well, I had a really great time at my location. I thought that it was so fun, it was so magical, there was a lot of guest interaction, and it was just a really enjoyable experience for me. I had some really great leaders and really great coordinators that also made my program great. I don't have a lot to complain about within like my location and everything like that. I just figured I would talk about some of the hours and scheduling and things like that with you guys. As far as hours go, as a CP, it's really unpredictable how much you're actually going to end up working. I would definitely say prepare to work most of your time there, like that's what you're there for. A lot of times we do get 2 guaranteed days off a week. Sometimes it's 1 if it's like a really busy season, like during spring break. Sometimes I only got 1 day off a week, but that wasn't too bad at all. Generally during my program though, I worked about 36 to 38 hours a week. I barely hit 40 on my program, and that was just me getting lucky with scheduling. I feel like I think a lot of CPs work a lot more. I also know a couple of CPs who worked a little bit less than that. So your hours are really unpredictable, but I wouldn't worry about it. As long as you know that you're going into the program to work and not just to play in the parks 24/7, then I don't think that you'll be very disappointed in your schedule. You're always going to have time for the parks, whether it's before work, after work, on your days off. So I just wouldn't worry about how much you're working. Another thing to think about is scheduling. Being CPs, we are at the bottom of the totem pole between like full-timers and part-timers, and then it's CPs. So a lot of times you are going to be working closing shifts, or a lot of the shifts that part-timers and full-timers don't want. So just be prepared for that. At the boutique, I did work a lot of closing shifts, but I really didn't mind because we closed so early. I just know that in a lot of other locations, sometimes there's a lot less CPs or there's a lot more CPs. Sometimes you can work out like switching shifts with people. At my location, that was the only downside, because there was only 1 other CP, so we didn't switch too much because we always were working together or we had something else going on. But generally speaking, scheduling can be kind of hard. You're not really going to get a whole lot of days off. I think that the rule during my program was that you got as many days off as like the months you were there. So I was there 4 months, so I got like 4 allowed days off basically that I could schedule anytime in my program, and I used that when my family and friends visited. But other than that, yeah, your days off just kind of fall where they fall, and you just get lucky and you can switch around with people if you want. The rule for CPs is that you just can't give away shifts. Basically, my biggest tip for CPs going into their work location is to get to know your leaders and get to know your coordinators. Those are going to be the people that are in charge of you basically. They're kind of like managers and assistant managers. They're going to be helping with making your schedule, days off. If you're not feeling good or if something goes wrong during the day and you have to go home early, they're going to be the people that let you go, and they're going to be the people that you have to ask. So I would definitely work on communicating with your leaders and just getting to know them, because they're really cool people. They're just a really great connection to have, especially if you want to stay working with Disney and you want to transfer, or you're interested in anything like that. They can be really helpful with that. So I would definitely say get to know your leaders and be yourself. There's a lot of myths that like part-timers and full-timers don't like CPs because we come in for a few months and we leave, and we come in and we leave. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think there's like a stigma around that. So I just think that you should go in with a positive attitude. You should try to get to know the part-timers and the full-timers. You never know when you're gonna need someone to trade a shift with you or anything like that. So I wouldn't say like avoid talking to them and stay out of their way, but just come in with like a good attitude and just do your best, and they should respect you. Everyone at my location was so nice and really helpful, so I wouldn't stress out too much about that. And another thing about work. So I almost forgot to say this, but talk to your older coworkers. I know it might sound crazy because it can feel awkward being like 20 and talking to someone who's, you know, like 30 years older than you, but do it, because some of my older coworkers were some of the coolest too, and I still am Facebook friends with them. I called one the other day just to talk about life and stuff, and they can give really good advice about Disney, but also just be really great people to be in contact with on your program. Like if I ever had like more of an adult issue, if I didn't want to ask my parents and I wanted to figure it out on my own, sometimes I would ask them for advice. One of my friends was moving like out of her apartment, and they helped her find furniture and they helped her find stuff for it. So like they can be really great people. Don't just assume that just because they're older they can't also be your friend and also be really awesome to get to know. I made that mistake during my program. I didn't start talking to my older coworkers until like later in my program, and I was like, oh, why didn't I talk to you earlier? Like, you're actually really freaking cool. So just keep that in mind. Don't try to just talk to CPs. Talk to everyone. Just do it. You'll make friends. Another thing, don't be dumb like me and my friends. Like, talk to each other, talk to other CPs early, because me and my friends at the boutique, we only started talking, like really talking and really hanging out outside of work probably like 2 months before I left. And I'm like, oh, why didn't we talk earlier? So I don't know. I think it's just because there's a lot of social anxiety and things like that going into the DCP. I'm going to talk about more of this when I talk about friendships, but as far as coworkers go, talk to them. Just do it. Just introduce yourself, get into it, talk about where you're from, and I promise it'll make work more enjoyable. And I think the last thing that I have to say about work and just like my experience was that it was really, really good. My favorite thing about my location was the guest interaction. I know that there's a lot of like horror stories and crazy like guest stories on YouTube, and they can really freak you out, but I did not deal with one crazy guest the entire time I was there. So obviously I do think it had to do with my location and what I was doing. Like a lot of these people had kids, and a lot of the people were just really happy to be there, super sweet, super magical, whatever. So I get that, but I just didn't really have any interactions with rude guests. So if that's something you're worried about, don't be too worried. A lot of times on YouTube when people do make those videos, it's like 1 or 2 stories. I don't know anyone who has had like a lot of rude guest interaction, I guess. And anytime that you do have something like that, your leaders, your coworkers, they're gonna have your back. Don't stress out about it if it's something you're worried about, because I know, knowing that I was going into merchandise, I was really scared that I was gonna have like a lot of rude guests and a lot of people that just didn't know how to treat customer service people, but I didn't have that issue. So don't worry about that. Basically go into work with a really positive attitude, and I think you'll be okay. I think everything will be fine. If you have any more questions about work, schedules, that kind of stuff, leave them down below. Okay, so this is one of my favorite topics that I wrote down that I wanted to talk about. We're gonna talk about making friends on the DCP and all about friendships and things like that. Super fun stuff, because I think on the Disney College program I have met some of the most amazing people in the world. Like, it's been fantastic, but in case you're really nervous, really anxious about meeting new people on your program, here's some tips I have for you. I was really nervous. Back at college, I only had a handful of friends, and I was really scared that I wouldn't have anyone to hang out with like on the college program, but thankfully I put myself out there and things have been going really well. I still talk to pretty much all of my friends occasionally, like every couple of days, I'll text someone, or it'll be someone's birthday or whatever, and I'll message them and be like, hi, I miss you, I love you, when are we gonna see each other again? So friendships on the DCP are great. Here's some of my tips. Okay, so my first tip for making friends on the program is to use social media to your advantage. I'm not saying get super wrapped up in social media, because I do think that sometimes that happens on the DCP. I just mean join Facebook groups of people with like similar interests. There are going to be a bunch of Facebook groups for people who got in, people in your location, people in your role. So definitely look up different Facebook groups for your program. What else? I would say follow people on Instagram, like check the DCP 2020 or whatever year you're going, DCP hashtags. People are going to be sharing their like acceptance posts and everything like that, and you can follow as many people doing the DCP as you want. DM them, hit them up. Hey, I got into, this is my location, what about you? Start talking. It's great. Instant friendship. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Like, I know it sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but that's literally how I made a lot of my friends, was through Instagram. A lot of people DM'd me or I DM'd them. That brings me to another thing, YouTube. So if you're vlogging your program, which I think is fantastic, you should do it if you want, but if you're vlogging your program, make sure to check out other people vlogging the program as well. Look up like DCP Spring 2020 videos, and you'll find a whole bunch of people making posts about their acceptance. Comment on their videos, reach out. Hey, I'm vlogging too. Let's go to Magic Kingdom together. Like, it's literally that easy. That's how I made friends with Jojo from JoJo's World. You guys probably know him. That's how I met Tommy, which was one of my best friends on my program. Like, that's literally how I met so many amazing people, was just commenting on their videos, sharing their videos, liking their videos, and also like giving out my channel, being like, hey, watch me. And also a lot of people commenting on my videos. That's how I met some really great friends. They DM'd me, and YouTube is definitely how I made a lot of my friends. Not saying that you have to vlog, but if you just want to check out DCP vids, that's such a good way to like reach out and meet other people who are also doing the program, and people who want to make friends and meet up as well. Once you're actually in Florida and going into the parks, I also think it's super easy to make friends. Something that I did a lot was, if I saw someone in the parks and they had like, I'm celebrating DCP button, you'll see a lot of those, look out for them, or like celebrating DCP ears or something like that. You can start a conversation with them so easily, just like, hey, I'm doing the DCP too. There you go. Or if people are working on their name tag, it'll say their college if they're doing the DCP. Hey, I'm doing the DCP too. Boom. I know, it's so easy, it's crazy, it's great. The DCP was definitely the easiest time I have ever had making friends and meeting new people, so put yourself out there. You guys have such a huge thing in common that you love Disney enough to move down there. So reaching out and being super bold and just talking to strangers in the parks, like, it sounds weird. I feel like it sounds weird for people who didn't do the DCP, but if you did it, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you guys just have a connection from doing it. So don't be scared to just talk to people. That's my biggest tip. And also just use social media and you'll be good. You'll be fine making friends, I promise. The only negative thing I would say about making friends at the DCP is that sometimes it can be hard to tell if people are being super genuine with you. So I would definitely keep an eye out for that. Having a YouTube channel has been amazing for my DCP, but also sometimes I felt like people were just talking to me because they wanted to be in my videos, or they wanted to be in my Instagram posts and on my story and things like that. So just, keep an eye out for that. Like, if someone only wants to take pictures with you, people only want to go to the parks with you, things like that, just be aware of it, because it does happen. It didn't happen to me a lot, but I don't know, that's just like the downside of being in something that has such a big impact on social media. Sometimes if you have the most aesthetic feed, or you have the most followers or the most subscribers, people will want to kind of hang out with you because of that. So that was my only negative thing. Like I said, it didn't happen often, but it's just something to be aware of. If someone truly wants to hang out with you because you're cool and they love Disney too, and because you're awesome, or because they just want to be included on your page or in your posts. Okay, so as far as roommates, I've been thinking really hard about what exactly I want to say about my experience, because it was not good. It was not the best, but I also don't want to spread negativity or name names or do anything like that. I've seen a ton of like horror stories on YouTube about DCP roommates and stuff like that, and I just don't think it's worth it to make a video like that or talk about it in a super negative way. Basically, my advice for going into the DCP and having roommates is just to know that it's okay if you don't get along, and it's okay if you aren't best friends. I see a lot of DCP roommates who are really good friends and they keep talking over the years, and that's fantastic and it's really great, but at the same time, some people are gonna have roommates that they don't want to hang out with 24/7, and that's completely okay. Some roommates might not know how to handle that, but that's not your problem at all, you know? So in your DCP, my experience was just roommates who I feel didn't like the fact that I hung out with a lot of people on my DCP, and I mean literally making time for different people like every single day, because for me the DCP was about exploring friendships and getting to know different personalities and meeting as many new people as I could through my channel and through Instagram and stuff like that. So I had a really good time doing that. I don't know if they felt like they were taking a back seat to things like that. I did try to talk about it with them, but they never really said it was an issue, so I don't really know what it was. But if you guys have roommates that start to leave you out of things or start to talk to you in a very disrespectful way, just know that it's okay and that you'll get through it. I've been through it, and I think that the whole experience just made me, one, appreciate real friends a lot more, and two, just, I don't know, more comfortable with dealing with situations like that and being more upfront if you do have a problem with your roommate. So that was my experience. Unfortunately, the experience was the same with pretty much all of my roommates. Like, I don't really talk to any of them anymore. I don't follow any of them. I'm not really friends with any of them. So if that happens on your program, just know that it's okay, but I do suggest getting to know your roommates as much as you can and going in with a positive attitude. Even if you can't link up with your best friend or you can't link up with as many people as you can, just go into it being positive, you know, and try your best. Just know that if it doesn't work out, it's okay. I might make a more in-depth video about the specific issues I had, but overall, my experience wasn't great. But it didn't ruin my program at all. I would still do another program. I would still try to get roommates again and just go in expecting whatever I expect. I definitely don't think that you should go in expecting clicking with your roommate as soon as you meet them. Like, I think that's kind of just setting you up for disappointment. Yeah, just go in willing to let whatever happens happen. I tried to make that as positive as I could. Okay, gosh. Okay, sorry guys. I'm sorry if the lighting is a little weird. I took a break to eat and now I'm finally back, but the sun has gone down and it's dark now, so I hope everything looks alright. Anyway, now we're getting into basically the bulk of this video that inspired me to talk about my general DCP experience. This is going to be the part where I talk about mental health, anxiety, depression, homesickness, that kind of thing during my program, because I definitely experienced a lot of that stuff. And I wasn't sure how to talk about it, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to say about it, but I do want to address it so you guys are aware of it if you're going into the program, thinking about the program, or you've experienced the same thing and you thought you were alone, because I think a lot of people do, but they don't talk about it. At Disney, I think it's really hard to talk about your problems just because there's like this culture that you're supposed to be happy all the time. And I don't even necessarily mean at work, I just mean like hanging out with friends and everything. Like, you know, it's supposed to be the best time of your life, the best job ever, you're supposed to be happy, and I almost felt like ungrateful if I complained about something, I don't even know, but I kept a lot of that inside, and I definitely don't suggest that now looking back, but it's just something to be aware of, and I think a lot of cast members go through this and they don't really know how to talk about it. Basically, I think the easiest way to talk about this is in order like of my program. So when I first came to Disney, I was on like such a high, which is obvious because I was finally living my dream. I was finally coming down here, meeting the most new people. I had the most free time and everything was really, really great. It was everything that I thought that it would be. It was fantastic. And I think a lot of cast members will agree that the beginning of your college program is like the absolute best, but you also have to be aware that it's gonna go a little down from there. I don't want to say that your whole program isn't gonna be great. It's just like you get used to a lot of stuff that excites you in the beginning. So towards the middle of my program, when like all the excitement died down, that's when I really started to struggle with what I think now, I didn't know then, but I think now it was homesickness a little bit. I started getting like these headaches and feeling like really out of it. And at first I thought it might have been like my health because I was on a very different diet at Disney that was not healthy. So once I started like eating better, I tried to get a little bit more exercise, a little bit more sleep. I still wasn't feeling very good physically. I was having like this weird back pain, and I went to a lot of doctor's appointments during my college program because I thought something was physically wrong with me. But the more I think about it, and the fact that doctors couldn't find anything wrong with me, I think it was more of a mental thing. And I think that I was so stressed that I was starting to feel the effects physically, which is a thing that I've looked into. But anyway, that's what I was dealing with during a good month of my program. I stopped going to the parks as much, I stopped hanging out with my friends as much, and I mostly just focused on going to work and then getting some rest because I just felt so exhausted, just like mentally, physically after work. And that's fine. I know that now, that it's okay to take breaks for yourself, but yeah, in the beginning of my program, I was so like go, go, go. And I was trying to hang out with everyone. I was trying to hang out with a different person every day. I was trying to film videos, and I was trying to go to work and do stuff for myself. And it was just really stressful. So that was one thing that I struggled with a lot towards the middle of my program. And it didn't necessarily get better until my boyfriend visited me. It was like, as soon as he was in Florida, I didn't really have much pain the time he was visiting, and then afterwards I was kind of okay. So once I talked to my mom, I'm like, well, maybe I was just really homesick and I didn't even know it, because I think it's really easy to not know, especially if you tell yourself, I'm in the happiest place on earth, I'm so happy, I love my life, and you say it all the time and you tell everyone in videos and in posts, but in reality sometimes it can just be like really, really hard to not be talking to someone about those things. So that's part of what I experienced. And then towards the end of my program is where it really fell apart, because I was really stressed about extending. I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay at Disney. One of my friends had to go home early, and he was like my best friend, so one of my best friends left. I was having roommate issues, and that's mostly why I stopped posting. I just had like a lot going on and I wasn't talking about it. But the end of my program was really, really rough for me. I started having problems with my relationship, and just all this stuff just wasn't going well. And I think one of the main things that affected the end of my program so much was like the fear of leaving. I feel like so many people who do the DCP do it, and then they feel like they've reached like the peak of their life, and then they're scared to move on. I don't think that this is like necessarily everyone who stays after their program or extends. I just think a lot of people, we talk about it and we joke about it all the time, but I think subconsciously like we're kind of serious. Like I made that joke throughout my program. I'm like, oh, I've peaked. Oh, I've peaked. Oh, this is the best time of my life. I'm never gonna be this happy again. And that's so unhealthy to say, even if you're joking. It's just not good, because eventually you start to believe it. And I think that's what really stressed me out towards the end of my program. And it made it really, really hard to leave. I remember looking for any way to stay, even like prolonging my time in school if I could do another program or extend or whatever. Eventually I made the decision not to, and I'm really thankful, but sometimes it can be hard to think about leaving the Disney bubble. It can be really scary. So I thought I would mention that as well for you guys to be aware of. That's just my honest perspective on everything. And I just have some tips for you guys in case you feel any kind of relation to this during your program, or if you did during your program. My biggest tip to basically make sure that you are still taking care of yourself mentally is to take breaks throughout your program for yourself, even if you have a day off and that means not going to the parks or that means not hanging out with your friends. That's 100% okay. I definitely think a lot of people on their program stretch themselves really thin because they tell themselves this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, I'm never going to live like this again, which might be true for some people, but at the same time you have to think you're going to live there for months. You are going to have time for everything. You just have to manage it correctly, and you will. So definitely try to think more about scheduling when you're going to do things. Definitely schedule those days for yourself. Even if you think you don't need it, just chill one day, just chill, take half a day even, sleep in, and things like that. So that's really important. Secondly, I would say talk to people about things that are going on, even if it's not Disney related or DCP related. If there's something going on at home, I suggest talking to literally anyone. It doesn't have to be your roommate, it doesn't even have to be someone in Florida. I think that keeping in touch with your friends and family back home is so important, because there's going to be a time when you leave Disney and you need to know that you still have a life outside of the Disney bubble and everything is okay, and it's okay to still talk to your friends at home. It'll probably make you feel a little bit better if you miss them or you miss home or something like that. So that's the biggest thing, is just talking to someone, expressing that in some way. If you need to journal or vlog or, I don't know, draw, create, do something that gets your mind, like, it expresses it and gets it out there. I think that that can be super helpful as well, because that's something that I didn't do like at all. And just know that if you have any problems with these things, that I went through it, I'm okay, and it doesn't have to ruin your program. I would say try very, very hard to focus on your program treat it as a really great time in your life, but don't treat it as like the best time in your life, if that makes sense. Even if you think about going home and you don't necessarily want to, don't think about it like it's the worst thing ever, or your life is never going to be as great as it is at Disney, because that's simply not true. Just because things at home might be a different pace, you might be with different people, it doesn't mean that it's automatically bad. And that's the biggest thing. I had a really negative idea of like home life throughout my entire college program, because I was acting like I was escaping, and I just really shouldn't have, because I still love where I'm from and I'm still very happy to be home. And yeah, I think that's mostly what I had to say about that. If you like experienced any of this, if you're an alumni, let me know down in the comments below, or if you relate to any of this and you're on your program now or whatever, let me know, because that's mostly what I wanted to say, I think. Okay. So the last thing that I wanted to touch on in this video is going to be about relationships and dating. So I can't remember if I mentioned this at the beginning of my video, but going into the DCP, I was in a long distance relationship. I'm no longer in that relationship. We dated for 5 years, and my relationship ended during the DCP. So yeah. That was another thing that made the end of my DCP so difficult, and we're not really going to go super in depth about that because that's really private, obviously, but I did want to talk about going into the DCP in a relationship. I think that doing that is not necessarily a bad idea. I know a lot of people talk about breaking up before the DCP, which really sucks. I don't think that you need to break up before the DCP if you're in a relationship already. I know plenty of people who their relationship was completely fine during the DCP, and my relationship had less to do about the DCP and more about like our personalities and stuff like that and everything that we wanted in life. So I don't think that going into the DCP in a relationship is going to end in like failure or heartbreak or anything like that. I think that going into it, you do need to know that communication is so important, and keeping up with each other is so important. And I think that a lot of people just get really scared and they just end things before you try, and I don't really believe in that. Obviously, everyone's relationship is different and you guys make that decision on your own, but I just noticed like a lot of people breaking up like before the DCP and not really giving it a shot. Also, side note, this doesn't really, well, it does have to do with it. If you are with someone, like your partner doesn't support you in doing something that you really love, like the DCP, drop them. Drop them before you start, because obviously they don't care about you if they don't support something that you really want to do. That's something else, like that's completely unrelated to my relationship, but I saw that a lot like on DCP Facebook pages and stuff. A lot of girls are like scared to do the DCP because their boyfriend like threatens to break up with them or something insane like that. And if someone wants to break up with you for taking an opportunity that means a lot to you, that you've worked really hard for, then they just are not the one for you, and it sucks. It really, really sucks, but it's true. A lot of my friends even have gone through that, and that's just really awful. So that's one thing that I had to say about that. My relationship advice for long distance relationships, like some things that I did, I used to send my boyfriend my schedule so he knew like what was up with when I was working, so he knew that I wasn't like just playing in the parks, not answering him. Like he knew when I was working and when he could call me and when he couldn't call me and that kind of thing. Sending letters is really, really cute. I was really bad at keeping up with that, but when he did send me something, it was cute and I loved it. Telling each other what's going on in your life is really important. I know that I like kind of shied away from talking a lot about like the hardships of the DCP, and I didn't really tell him everything that was going on in my life. But I think it's important to tell your partner or whoever like what the DCP is really like, so they know that your life isn't all sunshine and rainbows. I don't know. I think that it's so easy for people to judge people working at Disney until you actually do it. So that's one thing, like just being really honest about your experience here and the people you're meeting and everything like that, because if they truly love you, they'll support you and they'll be really excited for everything that you're doing. What else was I gonna say in this part? I've thought about making a whole separate video about breaking up during the DCP, or even just being single after 5 years of dating. So let me know if you'd be interested in that, because I feel like I could talk a little bit more about this, but for the purposes of this video, that's most of my advice for people going into long distance relationships. Give it a shot, communicate, be positive, be so honest about your experience, and I think that it'll help your relationship a lot. And I truly believe that people can do it and it can work out. As far as dating goes on the DCP, I think that the DCP is a great time to date. I think that I have met so many amazing guys on the DCP. Obviously, I didn't go on a whole lot of dates because I was in a relationship for most of the DCP, but I did meet some really great guys, and it's so easy to go on first dates at Disney. It's literally the best place to meet someone, I feel like, because you could just be talking to a guy and you guys plan to go to fireworks the next night, or you want to watch Fantasmic, or you want to sit on the hub grass and eat ice cream. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, there's so many good opportunities to hang out and not be in a super serious environment, I guess. You can just be so silly and so goofy and talk about your love of Disney and where you work, and I personally think it's really easy. I guess I just personally wouldn't go in looking for a relationship, because you know that the DCP is like only temporary and you guys are probably from really far away places and things like that. But if you just go in with a good attitude, you're just looking for some casual first dates or whatever, you might meet some really amazing people, and even if you don't end up dating, you probably will end up being friends with them for a while. So that's really cool. I'm telling you guys, like, the DCP will introduce you to amazing, amazing people, and my tips for dating are basically the same for friendships. Put yourself out there, see what happens. It's definitely very normal to like DM a guy and just be like, hey, want to go to the park sometimes? Like, it's so normal, and I don't know, you guys might think I'm crazy, because at first I thought it was crazy, but it's just so easy to reach out to people and hang out and just be really casual about it too. It doesn't even have to be like a date. Like, just hanging out with guys is a lot easier during the DCP because everyone wants to make friends and everyone wants to go to the parks with each other, so it's really, really chill in my opinion. I haven't had any like bad experiences trying to hang out with other people on the DCP in general. It's been really great. So yeah. Okay, so I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to address in this video. I know this video was really long and kind of all over the place, but I hope that something I said spoke to at least one person watching. If any of this helped you, please let me know in the comments down below. I would love to know more about you guys. If you are doing fall or you're applying for spring, tell me what roles you're thinking about doing. Tell me what role you're doing now if you're in fall, and just let me know how things are going, because I love staying connected with you guys and hearing about your programs. It's really fun. So yeah, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching today, and thank you so much for staying subscribed to my channel. I've lost like a ton of subscribers since I left, which is fine. I get it because I'm not living there, but I really do want to keep making Disney content for you guys. I want to keep creating videos, so this isn't the end of my channel by any means. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any video ideas that you want to hear from me. I think I'm going to start leaning towards more college things, but I do still want to talk about my time at Disney. So let me know down below if there's anything that you're really interested in hearing about. And yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say today. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye!